Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Xah Talk Show. We are going to code F#. So what I'm going to do today is to write F# functional programming language tutorial, write my tutorial. So it's going to be exploration. So I'm going to, if you want to learn F#, you can, there's a great tutorial, okay? You can just go to Microsoft F# and read about it. That would be very efficient way to learn F#. Or I presume there's quite a few videos teaching F#, okay? So if you want a no-nonsense tutorial, you can go learn from those resources. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do like several things. I'm going to write my tutorials in F# in Emacs, so you can learn some, and chat, okay? So you can learn some functional programming, learn something about F#, and also about my Emacs workflow, how I write my tutorials and things like that, randomish. Okay, if you are here, say hi. Love to see your comments. Post in the chat. Hi, Sprinkle Night. Sprinkled Night. Where are you from? If you are not here, watch at 1.5 speed and skip around because I ramble, okay? So let's start quickly. So the F#, the most great thing is about this F# tutorial, okay? Did we, yeah, so there it is, Microsoft. That's the greatest F# tutorial. So turn on JavaScript, refresh. Okay, not install, okay? I don't want to not the install. So this F# learn.microsoft.com, that's the best F# tutorial. So I started to write a little bit. So you got file name extension, that one of the most important. You got comments, one of the most important, and you got quote string, that's most important. Okay, so let me start to work on that. So first of all, I want to make a panel for the rest, for each one of these. So let's do that. Okay, so what we got? Install file name extension, comments, quote string, string escape. If you want introduction of my keyboards in every of my live stream, I have an introduction about my keyboards and my Emacs setup. I'm using Xah Fly keys and I'm using Voila keyboard layout. Okay, so so first of all, I want to make the panel. So install file name extension, comment, quote string, string escape. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so create a panel. Yeah, so that is the original copy. Make a copy and linkify, make a list and move all these lists into here. And so F# install file name extension, comments and quote string. Okay, yeah, and remove that. Okay, so we're gonna replace all files of that string replaced by this new thing. Yeah, something like that. Okay, so that's right. Not yet. So overview F#. Let's see, comment this. So those are so something like that in the beginning. Okay, something like that. Install over. Okay, so you got make sure the HTML is correct. Yeah. Okay, so Xah find replace that by that of this directory or HTML files. Make change to files. Yes. Make a backup. Yes. Oh, nothing. No change. There's no change because I don't have it. No, okay. Okay, so let's so I need to do another thing. So for every here's what I do. Where is the main? So this is after main. Okay, so go to replace, find replace.go. So this is a Go program. You can find it here on my website. You can, this is find replace in Golang. Okay, so if you want it, just search for Golang script to find replace multi-pair of regular expression in directory. You'll find the script. So but what we're gonna do is we're gonna use it. So we're gonna find, okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna find all the main. So and these files, well, we need to find now let's not use Golang, let's just use Emacs. Okay, so call Xah find replace text. Okay, find main and what you want to replace by. I want to replace by main, new line and that. Okay, yeah, there's some issue that doesn't let you. Let's just do it. Okay, do it. Okay, so you got several, you got all these files changed. Show in browser. Now you got a duplicate here. So delete that, show in browser. There it is. So install file name extension, comments, quote string, string escape. That's good. And then we don't need this. Okay, so show. Okay, so start at install. Hello Based. Hello Huang. How do you build your site, Hugo? No. That is a frequently asked question, which I have answered 1,000 times. I write HTML manually, raw, since 1995. Okay, so in beginning, 1995, I type that, then something, then, you know, I type it each tag name /p, then quote. That's how I write it in Microsoft Word with some Microsoft shortcuts, abbreviation templates, you know. So starting in about 1995, 1996, I write HTML manually. In 1998, I started to use Emacs. Okay, then use whatever Emacs power, you know, like you have abbreviation, but I didn't use abbreviation until like 2008 or something. So after 10 years using Emacs, I started to use Emacs abbrev, which is one of the most powerful feature of Emacs. So if you want to know how to use it, there, you know, just search my tutorial Emacs abbrev mod. Okay, so basically I started to write HTML raw tag by tag, every character by character since 1996. Then in Emacs since 1998. And ever since I write HTML raw. So today I have about 10,000 HTML pages on my website. You can, you know, 10,000 pages, tutorial, linguistics, philosophy, whatever. And how do I write them? Like what I'm doing right now, okay? So close, close, close. So that's what I'm doing today, writing a tutorial manually, okay? And this way, so by now I have so many things. I have Xah HTML mod, okay? So, there's about like 15,000 lines of code. Well, about maybe 9,000 lines of code, Xah HTML mod. So even I write HTML raw, but if you count my keystrokes, it's more efficient than if you use Hugo or Emacs org mod or whatever, okay, more efficient. And I got more control as well. God, I closed the window by mistake. So I talked about this in my past live stream so many times. So hello, Blue 3. Blue 3 is a Emacs Lisp hacker writing a thesis about Emacs Lisp. Do you use WordPress to build your website? No, I don't use nothing of that shit. Or Squarespace. Is that a troll? Because I think you know what I do, so manually, okay? So let's go back to F#. So F#, so what, okay, so let's install. So if you want an introduction to F# and the history of F#, meta language or Camel, how it relates to Haskell, watch my previous video about a week ago or 4 days ago, something, okay? So 1 hour I talked about that. So, to write a tutorial, so there's a lot, so for example, I have Golang tutorial, Wolfram language, Emacs Lisp, PowerShell, Python, Ruby. My Ruby is not very good. So I'm just showing you some of the good ones, okay? So you see my Python tutorial, you got, Python install, overview, Python 2, Python 3, what's the difference? Source code encoding, it should be UTF-8 or should it be UTF-16 or whatever, depending on the language, okay? So then you got help. How do you get help? How do you print the current version, which is one of the most important common thing when you learn a new language, may it be PHP, Node.js, JavaScript, you always want to know what is the current language, what am I using, what do I have, So print version, how do you find the current version? And then another thing common in all languages, how do you find help? In almost all languages, you have built-in help. For example, Python or man pages, Unix, or or dash help. So how do they have built-in help? Or if they don't have like interactive doc string for functions, how do you, sometimes it's website. For example, for PHP, it's website, which is very good because you can always find what you need. So, you cover built-in help. Then one of the most common is how do you do comments in every language. Then you start to get technical. That is a string. How do you quote them? How do you create a string? And how do you deal with Unicode? Then sometimes regular expression. Then you start with arithmetics, operations, multiplication, divide. How do you do mod or modulo or remainder of a division? Or how do you do assignment? This gets very complex quickly in different languages because sometimes you can assign multiple variables in one shot and their syntax is kind of different. Sometimes you have destructure assignment, things like that. So then, after the help and common, then you start to have the basic common technical aspect of the language, usually that are string, arithmetics, number, Boolean type. How do you do if, true and false, and what does true mean? What expression return true? What express, depending on the language. So then you have conditional if then else or switch statement or if else expression, which is different from statement. Then you have loop. Then you have started to get really complex data structures: list, dictionary, tuple, sets, sequence type, JSON. For example, in Python, all these are considered sequence type. That's kind of the Python's quirk. In Lisp, you have Lisp quirk. In Wolfram language, you have other, like how do they organize the different data types, hash table, dictionary, and how do they call it? For example, hash table, sometimes also known as dictionary, or sometimes known as map, and sometimes known as keyed list, and sometimes known as associative list, depending on the language. So then you started to get into how do you define a function, how do you define a class. Then the next level of complexity is module. How do you write a module? How do you take a bunch of functions, put into a file, like modularization, Then you got miscellaneous date time, how to benchmark, how to test the various speed differences between different constructs, because usually, almost always, for doing the same thing, you can write different ways, like while loop, for loop, for each map function, so which one is better, which one is faster. So usually today programming languages has a timing library built in. So so that's the basic, the module, and basically that's it. And then regular expression is part of the string processing. Then you have topics like how do you read and write a file. So these are, and Unicode, how do you deal with Unicode? So these are the common elements of writing a programming tutorial. Okay, so in this example, I'm showing my Python tutorial. Similarly for Ruby, but my Ruby tutorial is not very good. I spent 1 month to learn it. It's not very good. So PowerShell, very good. So in PowerShell, in the case of PowerShell, you have two sections. You have how to. So this is just like how to list directories, how to list directories of file names of certain file name extension, how to exit, how to print, how to access built-in help, how to do name completion in terminal. So here is PowerShell. So for example, cd web, then Xah info, then you can list directories and so on. So you got this because PowerShell is a shell which allows you to have interactive use. So most of the time you are using it interactively. So you list alias, PowerShell has the alias concept. Then how to navigate directory, how to list directory, how to list directories, how to how to show it as a tree, how to show only empty directories, how to show directories with directory size, or list directory only if their content is more than 10 megabyte, things like that. Then you have list files, so you got a bunch of how to for interactively use of PowerShell, which is special in shell languages because you don't have that in Python. You don't do that in Python. But then you got the PowerShell in-depth section. So this section is more like treating PowerShell like a programming language like Python. Then you got the same thing, kind of concepts like file name extension, how to do comments, what are the different types, objects and types in the language, how do you find them, then how do you deal with path. Path is in PowerShell is the critical concept. Should you quote with single quote or double quote? Which quote has file name expansion, like implicit expansion, things like that. So that's PowerShell. Then you got like how exactly the path expansion works. For example, you can have $ embedded variable names, or you can have this tilde symbol for standing for home. You can have also dot and dot dot, or wildcards. So when you look into it, it's somewhat complicated because which kind of expansion goes first. If you want to know the detail, and how do you see exactly what some path expand to. So that's how you can use this function result path. It'll show you what it actually expand to. So you got file path issues, then you got pipe issues, which is a kind of a special construct in PowerShell, which is similar to, in other words, you can view it as a postfix notation of functional programming. Okay, that's what this pipe came from. From Unix shell, which came from functional programming postfix notation. I have like 10 articles about that. So then you got then you got the things like number. How do you input a binary number? Then you got the same thing as arithmetics. Then you got how to quote strings, different way to quote strings, what they mean. How to quote like huge 1,000 lines of text, called here string or here doc. It originated from Perl, called and PHP, here string, here doc. So this is all about quoting string. Then you got things like, string, variables, assignment, booleans, conditionals, data structure, loop, input, output, then how to write a function, how to deal with errors, then how do you say profiles. So this is PowerShell. So again, PowerShell Python, you can see how the structure of a tutorial for these different languages. Then my Golang tutorial is similar, so in Golang, in the case of Golang, you have to deal with compilation. So you have compilation, how to compile, source code encoding, how to print the current version. What does package mean? In Golang, that's one of the first thing important because every Golang file is a package. You have to have that as the first line. So that's why it's in the beginning introductory section. Then you have comments, how to print. Then the significance of the semicolon in Golang, which is important, you need to know. Then source code format, which is also kind of important in Golang because then you can format. You don't need to worry about it. Auto format. Then it covers topics like the other programming languages. String, run is a special type. Run is a character type actually. So in Golang you have that. Then type and values. Golang is a very type. It's a typed language, so you have to deal with types. Then you have conditional, loop, data structure, and function, and read, write a file. I don't have coverage for module, but anyway, so this is Golang tutorial. Then I have JavaScript in depth, okay? Then I have Wolfram language kind of in depth. So that's my tutorials. Then I got EmagLisp. Then EmagLisp is like, that I've been working on this the longest, like 15 years. So I got all these tutorials. Okay, so programming language tutorials. And go back to here. So what are we doing is today is just to write a F# tutorial. So what I'm doing is to what I was doing is to explain the structure of writing a programming language, okay? The structure of writing a programming language tutorial. So the structure of writing a programming language tutorial. Okay, that's what we have covered, and that's kind of the explanation of what I'm doing here. So we started with install file name extension. We need to have like source code encoding. What is the expected source code encoding? Then we got how do you get help, either inline help or how do you find the function you need? How do you, things like that. So I need to add a new page. Then you got the basics like comments and quote string, okay? Jesus, 38 people watching. That's that's I got the most popular people watching. When will you go to China? Maybe, maybe I'll go to China. I don't know. I never been, okay? So do you use WordPress? No. Blue Law, Janice says, what are your thoughts on Kinesis Advantage 2 versus 80? Why do you prefer Glove? Okay, I talked about that a million times. In fact, I have like 5 or 10 live stream videos about that. So you need to go back to last year or something. So just check, okay? Xah Talk Show, year 2025. I talked about that almost every video. So let's go F#. I use .NET and C# as a lot and never did F#. It looks, Blue says it looks good. Cool. It looks cool. Yes. Let's see. Let's see comments. Okay, since I started F#, converting C# code to F# is one of my favorite tasks. Fantastic. Interop with C# is very good. Yes, yeah, because they all based on .NET. Very good. I assume it's nice for delegating certain tasks for functions too. That might be cumbersome to write otherwise. Okay, anyway, let me go back to what I want to do. I'm doing this, you see, if you want to learn F#, you don't have to write a tutorial. Actually, these days, because F#, the tutorial is fantastic. The official F# tutorial, clear, professionally written. For example, let's get started. Install F#. I already, I read a lot of these already. So you start with, literals. So what are literals? Then you have like what are strings? What are the different ways to quote strings? What's the difference? What are all the escape sequences? I already read a lot of these. So these days, tutorials are getting so much better as opposed to like 10 years ago, 20 years ago. But, and because since 15 years ago, there's tons of Pajit, the Indian idiots. A lot of people from India, they are massively producing these, shallow websites, okay? No offense to Indian, but that is technically true. A lot of Indian, they are doing scams or creating lots of these tutorials. Like they don't have experience. They just like copy and paste and massive. So you got tutorial point. You got lots of these big commercial like tutorial websites for beginners. Like they only like they cover the like for beginners. You got so many of them. Starting about 2010, okay. The first one is I forgot what's the first one, but anyway, as technology progresses, you got these open source tutorials. There's and many something called Academy. Yeah, the Khan Academy. That's kind of one of the first. Khan Academy something. Okay, it became very popular. Oh, you can learn trigonometry, you can learn programming, you can learn, in video. So there's a ton videos. I don't need to actually write one because the F# one is very good. But I'm writing one because that's my habit. And also when I write, it's my habit to write down things as I learn. and also the advantage is that I have my own notes, so I can see exactly the way I understand something. Okay, and so my tutorial, like all my tutorials, like they are not, they some of them I spent 10 years, 20 years, but they are not, people don't read them. People just go to like Stack Overflow or the Pajit site, tutorial point, that's most traffic go there, okay? And even today, Stack Overflow has been killed by AI. So today, you just ask AI bot. You can ask AI bot, write a tutorial Python, or just like, you can ask any question. So I don't need to write a tutorial, but it's just my habit. So, so I'm going to continue my own tradition and style, but also my style of tutorial has a particular style because my style is to the point, no extraneous use of jargon, no unnecessary use of jargon. Okay, so I don't talk in terms of jargon. Oh, by the way, this is a pointer. That is, I tell you exactly when you type this, what is the consequence, whatever you type in terms of the programming language, okay, what it returns, things like that. So concrete, no nonsense, no jargon, no unnecessary use of jargon. Okay, that's critical because jargons actually sometimes are necessary. But however, for example, on the other extreme, in Unix man pages by the Unix fuckheads and by the Python programming language documentation and tutorial idiots, they are full of jargons, unnecessarily so. Also, that is true in Haskell tutorial by this, very smart functional programming hotheads, they filled with unnecessary use of jargons. So the consequence of that is incomprehensible. Okay, so another characteristics of my tutorial is that there's always examples for every concept. You'll see example. For example, let's say comments. So you got these comments, you got block comments. Then there's an example to it. So comments, then data structure, let, variable declaration, exactly. So there's no nonsense. Okay, every concept has an example. No nonsense, no jargon, and no storytelling. Like a lot of a tutorial, they will start. Oh, by the way, I began programming 10 years ago, and I encountered this language. At first, I thought how it compares to C++. These fuckheads. Oh, one day I traveled to the land of some foreign land, and I see a beautiful tree, and it reminds me like the Python philosophy. Then I started to thinking that's what function means. These idiots, okay. So that's a different. There are many different styles of programming tutorial. So another reason I write them is because I enjoy it. So, because when you write, you think about things. Okay, I kind of rambled all over about tutorial style and about the structure of a programming language tutorial, about the different styles of tutorial, about my particular style of tutorial, which you can see in a lot of my tutorial page introduction. For example, JavaScript in depth. So my tutorial is written in the most simple way you can understand. It doesn't require you to be a open source fanatic or to be a elite hacker like the Pythonic fuckheads or the Perl fuckheads or the Unix fuckheads and C fuckheads. They want you to be elite because whatever they write, they need to use like abstruse ways to talk about something so that their peers, they will think they are, superior, and including Lisp people. So my tutorial is the most simple. You can understand. Stand-alone examples you can run for every concept. So every example you see in my tutorial, when there's an example, you can run this right away. You don't need but you need to add import something there. Every example is independent. You can run in in whatever language. Okay, written in a code style. No ninja, no zen, no joke. Every sentence counts. Okay, so this is like you can say it's a mathematician. There's no one single sentence that's redundant. Okay, no one word that's redundant. And no talking about, this is ninja. Let's do some Quang, fuck. Or Lisp, let's do some Tai Chi and Tai Chi Taoism. Okay, no Zen, no nothing. No framework, no library, no design patterns, no extraneous jargons, no fad. Some tutorials they will talk in terms of design patterns. Okay, so in JavaScript, if you want to do a function in a factory pattern, this is what you do. Okay, factory pattern. What the fuck does that mean? That's what they do. So and for my JavaScript in depth, this is in depth. Okay, for my JavaScript, not for my Golang. Not for my Python. So my Python and Golang is like reasonable for beginners, okay? But my JavaScript is in depth, more in depth than any fucking professional book printed selling on Amazon, the top ranked seller, okay? My JavaScript tutorial is more in depth and more correct than any in English language, counting or printed books. Okay, that's okay. That's the summary. That's summary and advertisement for my JavaScript tutorial. Now let's go back to. So I talked for 40 minutes already. So let's talk. What do we do now? So I kind of ran it all over, and I actually didn't write any tutorial. So let's go back to write. Back to F# tutorial. Let's start to actually write some. So again, this is just a random. Okay, this is just my random talk and exploration. Okay, let's write the quote string chapter. Okay, open it. So update. So the work in progress. Okay, let's leave it. So yeah, so I need to read quote string. So F# string. Yeah, let's just start to write some string. Okay, so what do I have here? So let's see. So I got that. Run it. Sum. Okay, so we got it. So quote string. What are the different ways to quote? Let's see. String type represent immutable text. Okay, so Unicode characters. Okay, sequence of Unicode characters. String is an alias for system.string.net. Okay, so that is also so it's an alias to the system.string in .net. Okay, remarks. Okay, so this is the important part. Single literal. Okay, so single string literals are delimited by the quotation mark character. Okay, then the backslash inside it has special meaning, certain backslash, known as escape sequence, right? Okay, so those are the escape sequence inside the quotation mark. Okay, then important, the DDD. Okay, you know that the important DDD escape is decimal notation. That's right. and okay, verbatim string. Okay, so you got the @ sign. So let's see, how do I start to organize it? Okay, so you need a print, you need a quote string, you need another page for printing, because printing is the most elementary thing you need to do in a programming language. So I need a different page for print, and okay, so you got verbatim string start with @ sign. Okay, so okay, so let's start to write. Writing a tutorial is not so easy, and it's kind of tedious, so you just have to write quotation mark string. So let's just say that. So that's a chapter, I mean that's a section. Then verbatim. I don't have a shortcut for that. Did I spell it correctly? One thing I don't have in Emacs on Windows is the spell checker. On Windows, it's kind of difficult to get that to work. Verbatim string. Okay, so verbatim string is a new section. Let's begin just by some examples. Okay, so AA \n bb. Okay, now run it. Okay, tab R is undefined. I need in Emacs, in my F# mod, I need a Emacs command to run the current block or region. Okay, I don't have that command, so let's write one. Right now I have this command which runs the whole file, which works. Okay, so you see it returns literally. So this is a verbatim string, syntax correct. So we added a section, quotation mark string, so you need to add some explanation. String can be quoted by, okay, by that character. Inside you have escape / has special meaning. Okay, that's kind of. Then you need a section about the / sequence. Okay, so this is an example, but however you didn't show any example of / we need to show an example. AA line 1 / n, then let's say line 2. Okay, run it. Fantastic. Okay, so now copy that. Now comments. Now what is the comment of F# is that / let's see, check my tutorial. Correct. You also got block comment. Okay, do we have block comment? No, let me add it. Okay, to so anyway, one thing at a time. So here is an example of / sequence, verbatim string. Okay, so verbatim string, if @ sign, so what is the Unicode name for @ sign? The technical official name is commercial @. The quotation mark. The string is literal. Okay. / has no special. Okay, fantastic. Fantastic. So this is a little progress. Okay. Yeah. So now let's digress a little bit. So there's a lot to do. Then now let's digress. We want to code Emacs Lisp. Let's do that a little bit. So describe function Xah fsharp mod. So there it is, my Xah fsharp mod. So multitasking, writing a fsharp tutorial and improve my fsharp mod, which is here. Okay. So what I want to do, I want to add a brief for comments. Okay. So this is typically what I have. Now in fsharp mod you have comments. Okay, so let's see that. Evaluate, make a backup, go back here, close that, go back here. What do we have? Show in browser. Okay, Xah Talk Show. Okay, so let's learning notes. Emacs a brief programming tutorial index. Okay, we also talk about the programming language documentation style, the structure of writing a programming language, and we also talk about style of technical documentation. Okay, we talked about that. Technical documentation, or also known as technical writing. Donald Knuth has written an essay about how to do technical writing. It was a popular topic back in 1990s. You'll see a tutorial about how to write technical documentation. That is, so back in the 90s, it's common to have how to write. You have to teach people how to write an essay and so on. But and then part of that is technical writing, which you have different styles. So writing has different styles. You have creative writing style. You have journalism style. Then you have writing a technical documentation style. They have different styles. Then even within technical documentation, you also have different styles. Okay, so we talked about that. So, but let me reference to my website, because that has that subject. Okay, hacker code. Why Python doc sucks? Why Python sucks? Comp-lam perving. Xah Lisp, syntax soup, semantic soup, jargons of tech software industry. Doc for Dummies. This section, collection of essays related to technical writing and programming language documentation. Okay, so let's copy that, make a list. There it is, Doc for Dummies. So you have which programming language has best documentation. That's one article. And then you got how to judge the quality programming language documentation. How to judge the quality of programming language documentation. Oh, I missed of. Yeah, I missed. Okay, let's fix it. So go to that page, showing browser, back to Emacs, how to judge, search for JUDGE, judge Doom. So you want to rename this article for every link in the 10,000 pages that links to the article. You want to rename all. So I got a function. Do it. Xah HTML rename links all. Okay. How to judge the quality of a programming language doc. Okay. Enter. So that will take 30 seconds. That will go through 10,000. There it is. Because if you run this for the first time, it takes some time to load 10,000, 20,000 files. But if you already run it before, all the files are in memory, like right now. So that takes just 2 seconds. This is Emacs Lisp code. Okay. So close that. Okay, that's the how to judge the quality of a programming language doc. Okay, that should be, that, let's leave it. Okay, so that's one article. Close that. Close that. Then which programming language is easier to learn? Programming language documentation styles. That's what we talked about today. Okay, so that is kind of more elaborate than what I did extempore 10 minutes ago. Okay, programming language documentation styles. So here I gave a more of a comprehensive documentation about different styles in programming language documentation or in technical writing. Okay, then you got doc by dummies. Each is a case example. Which language has best doc? Unix, Python, Perl, Hacker, idiocies. You see, here I document some of the extreme idiocy of these fucking idiots, like the Unix man page, for example. These are funny. Okay, the Unix man page. Unix man page, man apt-get, try it, try to verify if I was telling the truth. By the way, am I like live and alive and kicking? Everything is fine. Sometimes like I've been talking for 1 hour and my voice is muted. Okay, 15 viewers. So programming language documentation styles, but go back, doc for dummies. So Unix, Python, man apt-get. Then you have a section remove, the remove option. Remove is identical to install, except that packages are removed instead of installed. That is from the Linux documentation, man apt-get 2011. Okay, so what does this mean? It means it's like kicking. Kicking is identical to kissing, except that receiver is kicked instead of kissed. This is showing the idiocy, exposing the idiocy of the Linux Unix fuckheads via a analogy. Okay, so that's an example from Unix. Then you got example from Wolfram. So why is Wolfram documentation superb? So I explain. Then you got the idiocy of the Unix man page. They start with that. Then you got the Python idiocy. You got Perl idiocy. So anyway, that's some of that. So now let's get back to the topic of the writing this. Okay, so copy that back to here. Now pop this out, run it. Okay, that's the output. Good. Now let's do a comment cm. Fantastic. So now I can have this comment. This is a comment. Okay, now fantastic. Okay, but however, cm space, it didn't move the cursor back to where it's supposed to be here. Okay, let's fix that. Back to emaclisp. So in order to get it back, you need to add a so I forgot. So let me check my other so this, let's check emaclisp mod. Hook. Okay, AB hook. Do I have that here? Hook. There it is. fsharp hook. Okay, so this function just move after expansion of a brief. It moves the cursor back to this cursor character from Unicode. Okay, so that character is called black vertical rectangle, which represent a cursor. Okay, nicely. So copy that. So you want to go to a brief. So by the way, if you are wondering what are you doing, Xah, this is emaclisp, seems technical and advanced. You can go to emaclisp tutorial, create the major mod, scroll down, then you go to the syntax table. Not there. You got create a hook, text properties, function template. Okay, that tells you everything you need to know about this abbrev expansion and template expansion, so that you can, for example, so you can have templates, type a few characters, expands. Okay, so if you this is about writing Emac Lisp, writing a major mod. Okay, if you are coding a major mod, so that's what I'm doing. So you need to add that. So we are creating a brief. So let's, for example, some tea. So a brief table. Yeah, so a brief table, a brief properties, we need to a brief hook. So that is explained here. Okay. Oh, so you see, that's what I'm. Do you need a? Let's see. Do you need a quote? No. Okay. So anyway, evaluate it. Now go back to, now pop this out. Now type CM, enter. Fantastic. You see my cursor went back there. Fantastic. So that's one thing done. Color it, showing browser. So I improved my F# mod. Okay, backup. So we got comments. So where are we? So I think maybe that's it for today. Yeah, maybe that's it for today. Hello, good evening, sir. Please stop insulting India. I use Fortran. I bought 360 and was disappointed. Returning to Advantage 2. Oh, interesting. And honestly, doubt Glove could compete with it either, but probably we all are different and therefore value different features. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Yeah, so in general, I would consider. Okay, let's digress a bit. Okay, so let's go back to Glove 80. So the ergonomic keyboards. So we're talking about these three keyboards. Glove 80, fantastic and beautiful. Then you got Kinesis 360. Both of them came out about 2 or 3 years ago. Okay, then you got this more classic Kinesis Advantage 2, which came out 10 years ago in 2016. Okay, so what you are saying is that you actually prefer this Advantage 2. Okay, in my opinion, no. 360 is definitely better. Yeah, I would say in general, because for several reasons, it's got, anyway, but the Advantage 2 is like one single piece, and it's light, one single piece, so that's nice. I like that. The Kinesis 360 is heavy. They are made of some kind of metal, quite heavy, like more than 1 kilograms. I think I got the details somewhere here. Okay, so but it's heavy and two pieces, so every time you use it, you gotta connect, then adjust, fiddle with the positions. Yeah. And then it doesn't have function keys, so, but the Advantage 2 got these tiny function keys, which makes them useless. So anyway, so different people have different preferences. If you want to compare, I have a comparison page, which is comparison page there. Kinesis Advantages keyboard. Okay, so wait, that all these are Kinesis. Then Dish Surface keyboards. So I got a comparison page, compare these two, not listed here. Oh, there, okay. Glove 80 versus Kinesis 360, there. Click it so you can see the comparison between these three. And you got a table comparing the features, okay. Anyway, so we talked about for 1 hour. I think that's it. So we were doing, so let me copy that, copy, close, okay, close, go back to talk show, paste, okay, we talk about that. And now what else I want to do? Emac this, no. We want, so we were writing the documentation for code string. There's a lot to do though. So there's a verbatim string, but there's more. There's also triple quoted string. Then there is, yeah, then you start to talk about indexing. Yeah, so there's a lot to do. Okay, so, and why is this common page not syntax colored? Let's open it. Let's syntax color it. Show in browser. Ah, looks better. Because when I had this page, I don't have my F# mod kind of ready yet. So, okay, that's it, guys. Bye, guys. If you like my stuff, go to xahli.info. Okay, scroll all the way to the bottom and pay me. I think that's it. Let me get tea. Oh God. Tea. So there's a lot to write though. You know, like the issue with doing live stream is that when I do live stream, you can't really work on your stuff. If for me, for example, I need to write this tutorial, right? And I've been prepared because I've been reading this F# documentation in past months. So if I just, so this is what I need to do for myself. So if I just work on it, it's much faster. I don't have to explain anything. I just go to Emac this or go to, just read and, do. But if I do live stream, it becomes something else because I kind of need to explain what are you doing. For example, adding this panel. What are you doing? Like if I do not explain, I got a string escape sequences here. So if I do not explain, then it's like you have no idea what I'm doing. It's kind of boring. You just see me, it's kind of boring. That which defeats the purpose of live stream, because live stream is supposed to be, either having fun, either you enjoy what I'm talking about or chat or seeing some interesting or dramatic stuff, right? Seeing my what color themes are you using? Oh, you Emacs, what template are you using? That's dramatic. So that makes live stream fun. But then I talked about the writing style, the documentation style. But I mean, the issue is then I'm not actually writing, I'm not actually, the goal is to actually write a tutorial. So today we just like added one single block of text. and that's not good writing neither, because you see, for string quoting, let me just continue this explanation. When it comes to string quoting in a programming language, there are many issues, and this is actually quite important and somewhat complex, because when you quote string, you have several issues. Do you allow empty line in your string? For example, JavaScript, it doesn't until like 15 years later, it created template string. Then you can have like new lines in your string. So, do you allow new line? And what about escape sequence? If you do not allow new line, then you need some kind of escape sequence. But sometimes you don't want escape sequence, because that's nasty. You want literal verbatim string. So how do you design it? Some languages use single quote or double quote. In Python, you have triple quote, which actually you have that in F# as well. Some of them add a something in front, which is in F#. And F# also, you can have a $sign for expandable, like interpreted string, so that a string you can have variable inside. So you got several issues. You got can you allow any character in your string? What characters are allowed, such as new line character? Do you allow it? Do you allow new characters in your string? Things like that. Do you allow escape sequences? By the way, it's not a good feature. You should ban escape sequence should be banned, okay? It began by the C fuckheads, C and Unix fuckheads. They created this / something escape sequence, which makes parsing string extremely complex, okay? What you should do is you should have like variation of the quotation, or the so-called here doc or here string, okay? That will do it. That will be much better, okay? So the C fuckheads poisoned the programming industry well. So they have this /. So anyway, what characters do you allow? Do you allow new line character? And how do you quote? If your string contains whatever the quotation mark, then how do you include that character? Okay, that's the issue. Then escape sequences. Within escape sequence, you got complicated issues about Unicode, because Unicode, you got UTF-16 characters, then you got UTF-32 characters. By historical watts, typically then you have two syntax to include to have escape sequence for Unicode. Typically one is 4 digits, the other one is 6 digits. So that happens in Emac-Lisp, in JavaScript. That happens also in, I believe, in Python. I have a documentation for each one of these, and more. So you got this escape sequence, then the string, then you got the string template issue, because oftentimes you want some variables or expression inside the string. You want them to be able to evaluate. So what syntax do you design for the language to allow that? Different languages, they have different ways. One typical example is you just include a $sign variable name, but that doesn't work for expression. So later on, people invented $sign, curly braces, then expression inside. Okay, that's another issue. How do you have expandable string or string template? Another issue is, how do you have formatting? For example, let's say you have 1.3456, but you want all decimals to be just 2 decimals. Okay, you want to truncate the rest of it. So you need format. Then formatting, then the issue is, how do you design your programming language string to have that feature, formatting of decimal characters or hexadecimal or binary digits, or sometimes you need padding You want empty space, or you want 0 in front of a number. So that's the issue. So different language, you have different ways to do it. And again, one of the common way is from the C format, okay? That the C and Unix fuckheads, again, they poison the design of programming languages. This format, from print, like sprint and print, this from the C fuckheads, C and Unix fuckheads, that is the worst design. The most inflexible, the most ad hoc. You have to memorize what is this pound sign or whatever it means, okay? And not flexible, not extensible, and you just everything is just ad hoc, just remember it, okay? Just do it. C and Unix fuckheads created that. So anyway, that's about the designing of a string syntax in programming languages and their complexities. And that is why writing, this chapter about string is not, it's not so trivial. So, for example, let's look at Python. You got Python is one of the worst design. You got, quote, but quote can be double quote or the single quote, but then you can also have triple quote. Okay, then you got, Python is the worst. Okay, that's it. We closing down for real. We shut down in 20 seconds. By the way, Lisp languages, including Mathematica, they got also the worst string, because in Lisp you only have just the quotation mark string. So it makes it very difficult when you have regular expression, or when you want some, when your text include quotation mark. So you have to escape everything. Then you got the toothpick syndrome, like incomprehensible, so, and hard to process. So Lisp is the worst. The best is HereDoc, okay? So the best is actually HereDoc, for example, PowerShell. So this mechanism allows you to have arbitrary text without conflict, without collision of characters inside. HereDoc. So HereDoc comes in varieties of designs, in PowerShell, in PHP, in Perl. Originally they came from Perl. Okay, so let's go to Perl. Perl string. Do I have a HereDoc? Okay, I think Perl is the first. I don't think Perl is exactly the first who created this concept. But however, Perl is the one responsible for first massively spreading this design, this syntax design, which solves the problem of including arbitrary text, like very long text, even 10,000 pages, like entire book. So you can quote it by so-called HereDoc. That's what Perl originally calls it. Okay, so basically you can have like random characters as the delimiter. So that solves the problem, because when you have a sequence of random English letters, the chances it happens in a text is like astronomical. The chances is less than you win a lottery. Okay. So Perl created this, made this popular. So this HereDoc string syntax moved to PHP, because PHP is derived from Perl, and then they also came to PowerShell. What is the origin of here doc string? I'm not sure. I think it's some kind of Unix tool. Okay, let's ask Grok. What's the origin of the here doc string in here doc string concept in programming languages? Let's see. Let's see the power of Grok's history. Let's magnify so you can see. The here doc, short for here document string concept in programming languages, originates from the Unix shell scripting, particularly the Boon shell. Oh, from Boon shell, introduced in 1977. Okay, Boon shell, which Bash came from. Bash is derived of. By the way, Bash stands for born again shell. Okay, that's an idiom. That's a very interesting idiom because originally in Unix you have the born shell. And what does the born stand for? That's the guy's name. Okay, Stephen Born. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. I suppose it's just Born, Stephen Born. Okay, 1977. But it's full of it's full of bad design. It's like Unix. Unix is always full of shit. So they try to improve it. So the story of Unix is simply shit piled on top of other shit. Like you start with shit. Oh, it doesn't work this way. It's got problems. Let's pile another shit on top of it to cover it up. Oh, but that got problem. Let's pile another shit on top of it. That is the fundamental history of Unix. Okay, including C. For example, C, you got C, then you got C++, then you got D, then you got Java, then you got C#. Each one is trying to cover up the shit before. That's the story. That's the damage of Unix and C. And shell, in Unix shell, same thing. Boon shell, then Bash. Okay. Now I'm not sure if there's another version before Bash, but anyway, Boon shell. You got C shell. You got Kong shell, KSH. You got C shell, Kong shell. You got Z shell. Okay, they all try to fix it, and then you got Bash, which is born again shell. That's an idiom from the American white people, because then here comes Christianity. Okay, born again. So, but anyway, it says the idea was inspired by earlier systems like Multics, okay, which use similar mechanisms for embedding multi-line. Oh, okay, so it came from actually Multics. Okay, that's it. Bye, guys.